Excuse me. We have a sound on film interview now with one of the ambulance drivers. It lasts a minute or so, so let's run that now.
Aubrey, what brought you to Parkland Hospital in the first place?
We picked up a patient on North Houston there, an epileptic, and took him to Parkland. We was waiting for the patient to be signed in at the time everything took place here.
What happened?
Well, first of all, these two men come running in. One of them had a large, appeared to be a machine gun, and they was hollering for stretchers and cots and everything, and to me it appeared that there was some lunacy or something, and then immediately after that, the Vice President of the United States came in. He was very pale. Some Secret Service men was walking him in at the time.
And did the President come in?
Yes, sir.
And then what did they do with the President?
They took him on back to one of the trundle rooms in the emergency room there. Before the President come in, the Governor, they brought him in first.
What happened after this?
Well, then the President come in immediately behind him, and after he come in, his wife was behind him, and they took them both of them, back to the trundle room at Parkland there.
Can you give us any of the intimate details?
You mean after they brought him in?
Yes.
Well, of course, they run everyone out of the emergency room of the hospital completely on the first floor there, and they told a rider and I to stand by at the rear of our ambulance in case the President or someone had to be removed from the hospital to another hospital. And we stood by there until later on they come out and told us that we would have to help remove the remains into a casket.
Dennis, what happened to the hearse?
We were standing by there. One of the Secret Service men come up and told us that we would have to help putting the President into the casket and getting him to the airport. And at that time, right after he had told us that, Mr. O'Neill came up in our 64 Cadillac hearse, and we unloaded and took the casket into where the President was. And before we put the President in his casket, the President's wife took her wedding band. It looked to be like her wedding band off of her finger and put it on the President's and kissed his hand. And then he left, and we took him out and put him into the hearse. And one of the Secret Service men, about 2 or 3 of them got into the hearse and just drove off and left Mr. O'Neill and the rest of us just standing there.
At this point, ABC's Director of Radio News, Tom O'Brien, came on the line from WFAA Dallas with an interview. The young man with him was Aubrey RIKE, an attendant at Parkland Memorial Hospital.
Would you, without any prompting from me, tell me the incidents that occurred this afternoon over at the hospital after the President of the United States died?
We would start out where we was at the hospital with another patient when someone come in following for some carriages to haul someone. Immediately following that, the Vice President of the United States come walking in very pale-like. And I guess 30 seconds elapsed before the carriages arrived back to the position we was at the hospital. And first come the Governor of Texas, and then immediately following him was, on the litter, was the President. His wife was following behind him. She was completely covered in blood. From the waist down, it looked like her legs and her hands and everything was very bloody. And following that, the Secret Service run everyone outside. They had a standby at our ambulance, on the ambulance dock, in case one of them had to be transferred to another hospital. We stood by for approximately 50 minutes to an hour, and they come out and notify us that we would have to help load the President into the ambulance. At that time, that's when we first was confirmed that the President was dead. One of our hearses from the funeral home arrived with a casket. We took it in and prepared to load the President into the casket. First of all, his wife, Mrs. Kennedy, came into the room and took a ring off her finger and slipped it onto the President's finger, kissed his hand, and she left. And then immediately afterwards, we loaded the President into the casket.